Welcome to Audiobooks. Immerse yourself in the world of stories, ideas, and knowledge, all through the power of audio.
Book title: Force Yourself to Be Consistent. Chapter 1: The Hidden Power of Consistency. When people think about success, they often imagine a single defining moment, a breakthrough, a big win, a life-changing opportunity that suddenly propels someone to greatness. But in reality, success is rarely about one massive leap. It is about 1,000 small steps taken day after day, even when no one is watching, even when no one is clapping, even when it feels like nothing is happening. That is the hidden power of consistency. Why consistency beats motivation. Most people wait for motivation to strike before taking action. They hope for the perfect mood, the right circumstances, or a surge of inspiration to push them forward. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like a wave, powerful when it's there, but impossible to sustain. If you rely solely on motivation, your progress will be just as unpredictable. Consistency, however, doesn't care about how you feel. It's about doing the work whether you're excited or exhausted, whether you feel like it or not. This is what separates the dreamers from the doers, the people who wish for success from the ones who build it. Ask yourself, how many times have you started something with excitement only to abandon it weeks later? A new workout plan, a diet, a writing project, a business idea. The reason you stopped wasn't that the goal was unachievable. It was because you didn't stay consistent long enough to see results. Success isn't magic, it's math. Small actions, compounded over time, create massive change. The compound effect of small actions. Think of consistency as a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small and slow, almost unimpressive. But as it rolls, it gathers more snow, gaining size, speed, and momentum. What started as a small effort becomes unstoppable. That's how habits work. That's how transformation happens, not in one grand effort, but in the accumulation of daily choices. Consider this: if you improve just 1% every day, you won't notice much in a week. But in a year, you'll be 37 times better than when you started. That's the power of compounding. Tiny improvements stacking up over time until they create extraordinary results. The problem is that most people give up long before the snowball grows. They expect instant results and quit when progress feels invisible. But those who stay consistent understand something crucial. Results come later than you want, but sooner than you think. There is a tipping point, and it only arrives for those who keep showing up. Consistency builds trust with yourself. Every time you make a promise to yourself and keep it, you strengthen your identity. You start to see yourself as reliable, disciplined, and capable. Conversely, every time you break a promise to yourself, every time you say you'll do something and don't, you weaken that trust. You reinforce the identity of someone who quits. This is why consistency is not just about action. It's about self-respect. It's about proving to yourself that you are the kind of person who follows through. When you believe that about yourself, your confidence grows, not because of empty affirmations, but because your actions back it up. Consistency is boring, and that's why it works. One of the biggest misconceptions about success is that it should feel exciting all the time, but real progress often feels repetitive. Athletes train the same drills daily. Writers write even when they have no inspiration. Entrepreneurs make the same calls, send the same emails, and review the same numbers over and over again. Consistency thrives in monotony. The ability to embrace boredom is what separates professionals from amateurs. The truth is, boredom is not the enemy, it's proof that you're doing the work.
If you only act when things are exciting, you'll never last long enough to see results. The key is to learn to love the process, not just the outcome. The silent transformation. Consistency is quiet. It doesn't always announce itself with dramatic changes or instant rewards. Often you'll feel like nothing is happening until one day everything is different. Your body looks different. Your business grows. Your skills sharpen. People start noticing. But by then, consistency has already done its work. It has already turned small, invisible efforts into visible results. That's why you must trust the process. You won't always see the payoff right away, but every day you stay consistent, you're building something powerful beneath the surface. The first step, decide who you want to become. Consistency isn't just about what you do, it's about who you decide to be. The most effective way to stay consistent is to anchor your actions to your identity. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, say, I am a runner. Instead of saying, I want to write a book, say, I am a writer. Your behavior will naturally follow the kind of person you believe yourself to be. This is where it all begins, with a decision. Not a decision to try, but a decision to commit. A decision to force yourself to show up no matter how you feel, no matter how slow the progress seems. Because the truth is simple. If you stay consistent, you cannot lose. Chapter 2. Breaking the Myth of Motivation. The Motivation Trap. We've been sold a lie about motivation. From self-help books to motivational videos, society teaches us to believe that success is born from a constant rush of inspiration. You see athletes yelling in locker rooms, entrepreneurs talking about their why, and influencers telling you to stay motivated. But here's the truth. Motivation is overrated. Motivation is like a spark. It can light a fire for a moment, but it burns out quickly. It's unreliable, unpredictable, and dangerously fleeting. If you rely on motivation alone, your progress will be just as inconsistent as your moods. One day you'll feel unstoppable. The next, you'll feel like quitting. The problem isn't that motivation doesn't work. It does, sometimes. The problem is that it can't be your primary fuel source. If you only move when you're motivated, you'll move less than 20% of the time. The other 80%, the days when you're tired, stressed, bored, or simply not in the mood, are where consistency is built and real growth happens. Why motivation fails you. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. One minute you're fired up to start a new diet, and the next you're in line for a double cheeseburger. One day you wake up ready to work out, and the next you tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes never. Relying on motivation is like relying on the weather. You can't control it, and it's never the same 2 days in a row. That's why people who wait to feel like it are always starting over. They're always looking for the next spark, instead of learning to keep going in the dark. Discipline is the antidote to motivation. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It's not about being excited to do the work. It's about doing the work because it needs to be done. Think about the military. Soldiers don't wake up at 4:30 a.m. for training because they're motivated. They wake up because it's who they are, and it's what they do. Discipline removes choice from the equation. It eliminates the mental debate of, should I do this today? When something is non-negotiable, you don't ask yourself if you feel like it, you just do it. How to stop waiting for motivation. 1. Accept that you won't always feel like it. Stop expecting to feel inspired every day. The sooner you accept this, the faster you'll move forward. Professionals show up regardless of mood. Amateurs wait for a feeling that never lasts. 2. Build rituals, not just routines. A routine is a schedule. A ritual is an identity. A routine says, I have to go to the gym. A ritual says, I am someone who trains every morning no matter what. Attach emotion and meaning to your actions, and they'll become part of who you are. 3. Lower the activation barrier. Motivation often fails because the first step feels too big. If you don't feel like running, commit to just putting on your shoes. If you don't feel like writing, open your laptop and write one sentence. Starting small tricks your brain into action. Once you begin, momentum builds. The myth of inspiration. Many people think they need an emotional breakthrough to start. They wait for that life-changing moment, the rock bottom, the powerful speech, the sudden revelation. But here's the hard truth. Most successful people didn't have a dramatic spark. They simply made a decision. They decided to stop waiting for motivation and start building consistency. Consistency creates motivation, not the other way around. One of the biggest misconceptions is that motivation leads to action, but in reality, action leads to motivation. When you start doing something consistently, you begin to see small results. Those results create progress. Progress creates motivation, and motivation keeps you going temporarily until discipline takes over again. Think of it like pushing a heavy car. At first, it takes a huge effort to get it moving, but once it's rolling, momentum makes it easier. Action creates that momentum. Reframing your mindset. Instead of asking, "How can I stay motivated?" start asking, "How can I keep showing up?" The focus shifts from a feeling to a system. The key is not to chase motivation, but to create conditions where consistency is inevitable. This means building habits, setting standards, and holding yourself accountable even when your emotions tell you to stop. Practical takeaways. Stop believing you need to feel ready. You don't. Start anyway. Focus on systems, not sparks. Build a structure that makes action automatic. Let action create emotion. Start small, see progress, and let that drive you forward. The shift from motivation to identity. The ultimate way to break free from the myth of motivation is to see yourself as someone who doesn't rely on it. Instead of saying, "I hope I can stay consistent," say, "I am a consistent person." Identity drives behavior. When you become the person who shows up no matter what, everything changes. Motivation might get you started, but identity and discipline will keep you going, and that's where the real transformation begins. Chapter 3. Building a no-excuse mindset. The excuse epidemic. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, resources, or intelligence. They fail because they give themselves permission to fail through excuses. Excuses sound reasonable. They feel justified. They let us off the hook. But they are poison to consistency. Excuses are subtle. They whisper things like, "I'm too tired today. I'll start tomorrow. I'm not ready yet. It's not the right time." On the surface, these statements sound harmless, but every excuse is a small crack in your commitment. And once one excuse slips in, more follow. Before long, a single day off turns into a week, a month, and then nothing at all. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, you must build a no-excuse mindset, a mental framework where action becomes non-negotiable and excuses have no power. Why excuses feel so convincing? Excuses are comfortable. They protect you from discomfort, risk, and effort. When your mind whispers, "Skip the gym today, you've had a long day," it's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to keep you safe. Your brain is wired to conserve energy and avoid pain. That's why it constantly seeks shortcuts. But success doesn't live in shortcuts. It lives in discomfort, discipline, and doing what most people won't. To overcome excuses, you must recognize them for what they are. Not reasons, not truths, but lies disguised as logic. How to eliminate excuses before they start. 1. Identify your most common excuses. Write down the top 3 reasons you give yourself when you avoid taking action. Be brutally honest. Do you say you don't have time? That you're too busy? That you're not motivated? Awareness is the first step to dismantling them. 2. Challenge the validity of each excuse. Ask yourself, is this true or is this convenient? For example, if you say, I don't have time, track your daily hours. Chances are you spend time scrolling on your phone or watching TV. You don't lack time, you lack priorities. 3. Replace excuses with rules. A no-excuse mindset operates on rules, not moods. For example, rule, I don't skip workouts 2 days in a row. Rule, I write 500 words a day no matter how I feel. Rule, I work on my side business for 30 minutes daily, no exceptions. Rules create structure. Structure kills excuses. Embracing personal responsibility. Excuses often blame external circumstances, time, resources, stress, environment. But successful people take full ownership. They know that while they can't control everything, they can always control their response. Taking responsibility means refusing to outsource your consistency to luck, weather, motivation, or other people. It means saying, no matter what happens, I'll find a way. Creating non-negotiable standards. Excuses thrive in low-standard environments. If you allow yourself to lower the bar every time things get tough, you'll never achieve lasting consistency. Instead, raise your standards and make certain behaviors non-negotiable. This doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It means you need to be committed enough that failure is rare and temporary, not a lifestyle. The power of pre-commitment. One of the best ways to eliminate excuses is to make decisions before you need to. For example, set your workout clothes out the night before. Plan your meals on Sunday for the week ahead. Schedule your work sessions in your calendar like appointments. Pre-commitment removes friction and decision fatigue, making it harder for excuses to sneak in. Excuse-proofing your environment. Your environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. If your kitchen is full of junk food, you'll eat it. If your phone is filled with distractions, you'll lose focus. If your friends encourage laziness, you'll adopt their habits. To build a no-excuse mindset, create an environment that forces success. Remove temptations. Surround yourself with accountability-driven people. Keep visual reminders of your goals where you can see them daily. When life throws real challenges. Not all excuses are trivial. Sometimes life hits hard. Illness, loss, financial struggles, family emergencies. During these times, consistency doesn't mean doing everything perfectly. It means doing something. Even a reduced version of your habit keeps the chain alive. For example, if you can't do a full workout, stretch for 10 minutes. If you can't write for an hour, write 1 paragraph. Progress, no matter how small, beats complete surrender. Adopting the no-matter-what mentality. The core of a no-excuse mindset is this simple principle. I do what I said I would do, no matter what. Not when I feel like it. Not when it's convenient. Not when everything goes perfectly. But no matter what. Once you adopt this mentality, excuses lose their grip on you. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop giving yourself permission to fail. And that's when consistency becomes who you are, not just something you do.
Chapter 4. Start small, win big. The illusion of big changes. Most people fail at consistency because they start too big. They set massive goals, overhaul their lives overnight, and then wonder why they can't stick with it. The problem isn't ambition, it's pace. Your brain resists drastic change. When you try to go from 0 to 100 overnight, it panics. It sees the effort required and convinces you to quit before real progress begins. This is why New Year's resolutions fail. People jump in too hard, too fast, and burn out by February. The key to lasting consistency isn't giant leaps. It's small, sustainable steps that build momentum. The science of micro-habits. A micro-habit is a tiny, almost effortless action that moves you toward your goal. It's so small you can't talk yourself out of it. Instead of promising to work out for an hour every day, start with 5 minutes. Instead of aiming to write a chapter, write 1 sentence. Why does this work? Because micro-habits bypass the brain's resistance to effort. They're so easy, your mind has no excuse to say no. Over time, these small actions create momentum, and momentum makes consistency natural. The power of momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that carries you forward once you start. The hardest part of any task is the beginning, but once you take that first small step, your mind and body follow. Think of a car stuck in the mud. At first, it takes a massive push to move it an inch. But once the tires start rolling, every push becomes easier. Eventually, it moves on its own. Consistency works the same way. Start small, gain momentum, then build up gradually. The domino effect of small wins. One small habit can trigger a chain reaction. A 5-minute walk today can lead to a 10-minute jog tomorrow. Drinking 1 glass of water in the morning can lead to better eating choices all day. Writing a single sentence can turn into finishing a page, then a chapter. Small wins create progress. Progress creates confidence. Confidence fuels bigger actions. And before you know it, what started as a tiny habit has grown into a life-changing routine. Breaking down big goals. Big goals can feel overwhelming. Losing 50 pounds, building a business, or writing a book feels huge when you think about the end result. That's why you need to break it down into small, winnable steps. Ask yourself, what is the smallest action I can take today that moves me forward? If your goal is fitness, start with 1 push-up. If your goal is writing, open your laptop and write 1 sentence. If your goal is saving money, transfer $1 into your savings account. The smaller the step, the easier it is to start. And starting is everything. The psychology of just one more. One powerful trick for building consistency is the just one more method. When you feel like quitting, tell yourself you'll do just 1 more rep, 1 more sentence, 1 more minute. Often that small push keeps you going far longer than you expected. This works because your brain sees 1 more as manageable, not overwhelming. But the compound effect of all those 1 more moments is huge progress over time. Lowering the barrier to entry. When a task feels too big, your brain resists starting. To overcome this, lower the barrier. Make the first step ridiculously easy. Want to go to the gym? Just put on your workout clothes. Want to meditate? Sit down and take 1 deep breath. Want to eat healthier? Add 1 vegetable to your plate. Once you start, momentum often carries you beyond that first step. But even if it doesn't, you've still made progress. Celebrate tiny victories. One mistake people make is waiting until they achieve big results. But small wins deserve recognition too. Every time you show up, every time you do the work, no matter how small, acknowledge it. Celebration reinforces positive behavior. It tells your brain, this matters. Keep going. Over time, your brain will associate consistency with reward, making it easier to sustain. From small to unstoppable. Starting small isn't about staying small. It's about building the foundation for unstoppable growth. Once small habits become natural, you can expand them. A 5-minute workout becomes 30 minutes. A single page becomes a book.
A dollar saved becomes financial security. Consistency is not about speed, it's about direction. Small steps taken consistently lead to big results, but only if you keep moving.
Chapter 5. Eliminating the option to quit. Why quitting feels easier. Quitting often feels easier than continuing because it gives you instant relief from effort, discomfort, and fear of failure. When the workout gets hard, when the business isn't growing fast enough, when the writing feels uninspired, quitting whispers, "You don't have to do this anymore." But here's the harsh truth. Every time you quit, you reinforce the identity of someone who gives up when things get tough. And the more you practice quitting, the easier it becomes to quit again. To build unshakable consistency, you must eliminate the option to quit, not just in words, but in mindset, structure, and action. The cost of quitting. Quitting doesn't just stop your progress, it erases it. It sends a signal to your subconscious that you can't be trusted to follow through. It kills momentum, drains confidence, and makes starting over 10 times harder. Every time you quit, you strengthen a dangerous belief. I only do things when they're easy. Successful people, on the other hand, flip the script. They adopt the belief, I finish what I start no matter what. Decision fatigue, the silent killer of consistency. Most people fail because they decide too often. Every day they ask themselves, should I work out today? Should I write today? Should I stick to my diet? Each question creates a new opportunity to say no. The more often you decide, the more chances you give your excuses to win. To eliminate quitting, remove the daily debate. Replace decision-making with non-negotiable commitments. Don't ask if, you simply do. Creating a point of no return. One powerful way to eliminate quitting is to make stopping more painful than continuing. Here's how. Invest financially. Pay for a program, coach, or training session in advance. When money is on the line, commitment increases. Go public with your commitment. Tell friends, family, or social media about your goal. Accountability makes quitting harder because now it's visible. Create a penalty for failure. Give someone money or a reward, and only get it back if you follow through. The fear of loss is a strong motivator. Remove exit options. Delete distractions, cancel temptations, and make quitting inconvenient. For example, if you want to stop eating junk food, don't keep it in your house. Burning the boats. The phrase "burn the boats" comes from a story about an ancient general who, upon arriving on enemy shores, ordered his soldiers to burn their ships. With no way to retreat, they had only one option: fight to win. In life, burning the boats means removing your safety nets. Stop telling yourself you have a backup plan. Stop saying, if this doesn't work, I'll try something else. Instead say, this will work because I won't stop until it does. Redefining failure. One reason people quit is fear of failure. But here's the truth. Failure isn't final unless you stop. Every mistake, setback, or slow result is simply feedback. It's a lesson, not a life sentence. When you view failure as data, not defeat, quitting becomes unnecessary. You just adjust, refine, and keep going. Building the habit of finishing. Consistency thrives on completion. Train yourself to finish everything you start, no matter how small. If you start a workout, finish it. If you open a book, read at least one page. If you sit down to write, complete your session. This habit of finishing rewires your brain to see yourself as someone who follows through. Over time, this becomes your default identity, someone who doesn't quit. When quitting isn't an option. The ultimate mindset shift is to see your goal not as something you're trying, but as something you're becoming. Runners run, writers write, leaders lead.
They don't stop because it's hard. They keep going because it's who they are.
Chapter 6. Mastering Daily Routines. Why daily routines matter. Consistency is built on structure. You can't rely on random bursts of energy or unpredictable motivation to sustain progress. Instead, you need daily routines, deliberate patterns of action that remove uncertainty, reduce mental friction, and make success automatic. A strong routine is more than a schedule. It's a system that ensures your habits get done regardless of how you feel. When your actions become part of your day the same way brushing your teeth or making coffee is, consistency stops being a struggle. It becomes who you are. The psychology of routine. Your brain loves predictability. When you perform the same actions at the same time each day, your mind begins to associate certain cues with certain behaviors. This is called habit stacking. For example, drinking coffee becomes a cue to open your journal. Finishing work becomes a cue to put on workout clothes. Brushing your teeth becomes a cue to meditate for 5 minutes. These small, repeated patterns create automatic consistency. You no longer debate whether to take action. Your brain knows it's simply what comes next. Ritual versus routine. While routines are powerful, rituals go a step further. A routine is about structure. A ritual is about meaning. Rituals infuse purpose and emotion into your habits, making them feel significant rather than mechanical. For example, a routine says, I wake up and go for a run. A ritual says, I wake up, drink a glass of water, tie my shoes with intention, and remind myself I'm becoming stronger every day. That emotional connection creates deeper commitment. It transforms ordinary actions into meaningful practices. Designing a consistent day. To master daily routines, start by identifying your non-negotiables, the habits that move you closer to your goals. Then build your day around them. 1. Morning rituals. How you start your day sets the tone for everything else. Avoid chaotic mornings. Instead, create a simple ritual. Water, movement, journaling, or reading that signals focus and discipline. 2. Work blocks. Schedule focused periods for deep work. Eliminate distractions, use timers, and protect these blocks like appointments. 3. Evening wind down. Consistency isn't just about action, it's about recovery. An evening routine, stretching, reading, reflection helps reset your mind for the next day. The power of time anchors. Time anchors are specific points in your day that trigger certain behaviors. For example, after breakfast, write for 20 minutes. After lunch, take a 10-minute walk. Before bed, review tomorrow's priorities. Anchoring habits to existing actions makes them easier to stick to because your brain doesn't need to remember they're built into your flow. Consistency through simplification. One of the biggest mistakes people make is overcomplicating routines. They design elaborate schedules that look good on paper but collapse in real life. The best routines are simple, flexible, and realistic. Focus on 2 to 3 key habits daily, not 10. Make them so small they're almost impossible to skip. Build on them gradually over time. Overcoming routine fatigue. Even the best routines can start to feel repetitive. When boredom strikes, tweak the details, but keep the structure. Change your workout location, listen to new music, or shift your writing spot, but don't break the habit itself. Consistency doesn't require excitement. It requires commitment. Learn to embrace the calm rhythm of routine, knowing that it's the foundation of transformation. Turning routine into identity. Ultimately, routines work best when they become part of who you are. A runner doesn't ask, should I run today? A writer doesn't ask, should I write today? They do it because it's their identity. When you master daily routines, you stop being someone who tries to stay consistent. You become someone who is consistent. And that changes everything. Chapter 7. The psychology of showing up. Why showing up is half the battle. The biggest challenge to consistency isn't the work itself, it's getting yourself to start. Once you begin, momentum often carries you forward. But convincing yourself to show up, especially when you don't feel like it, is where most people fail. Showing up is about presence, not perfection. It's about taking action even when motivation is low, energy is drained, or circumstances aren't ideal. Because the truth is, if you can master the art of showing up, you can master anything. The resistance barrier. Every time you plan to do something important, exercise, work on your business, write, meditate, your brain throws up resistance. It whispers, "I'm tired, I'll do it later. I don't have enough time to do it properly today. One day off won't hurt." This mental friction is normal. It's your mind trying to conserve energy and avoid discomfort. But here's the key. The discomfort of starting is temporary, while the regret of not starting can last all day or longer. Action before emotion. Most people wait to feel like it before they act, but emotions are unreliable. The key is to act first and let emotion follow. Start by telling yourself, "I only have to do 5 minutes." Often, once you begin, 5 minutes becomes 10, then 20, and suddenly you've completed a full session. Action triggers momentum, and momentum makes consistency feel effortless. But you only get that benefit after you start. The 2-minute rule. One of the most effective ways to overcome resistance is the 2-minute rule. Make the first step of your habit take less than 2 minutes. Want to run? Put on your shoes. Want to write? Open your document and type 1 sentence. Want to meditate? Sit down and take a deep breath. The hardest part is not the work, it's beginning. Lower the barrier and you'll find it easier to show up every time. Detach from outcome, focus on process. Sometimes people avoid showing up because they fear failure or believe their effort won't be good enough. But consistency isn't about producing perfect results every day. It's about keeping the chain alive, doing something, however small, to stay on track. Don't judge your success by how much you accomplish in a single session. Judge it by whether you showed up. Because showing up, day after day, compounds into extraordinary results over time. Building the habit of presence. Showing up is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. Start by making small promises to yourself and keeping them. If you say you'll stretch for 5 minutes, do it. If you say you'll write 1 paragraph, do it. Each time you keep a promise, you reinforce the identity of someone who shows up. Over time, showing up becomes automatic, part of who you are, not something you debate. Environment cues and visual triggers. Your environment can either help or hinder your ability to show up. Create an environment that makes action the default choice. Place workout clothes by your bed. Keep a notebook open on your desk. Put a water bottle where you'll see it throughout the day. These visual triggers remind your brain, this is what I do, this is who I am. Why showing up beats perfection. Perfectionism kills consistency. When you believe every effort has to be flawless, you hesitate to start. But consistency thrives on imperfect action. Some days will feel productive, others won't. But the habit of showing up keeps you moving forward. Remember, done beats perfect. Progress beats hesitation. Identity shift, becoming the person who shows up. When you show up consistently, even on hard days, something powerful happens. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with discipline. You start seeing yourself as a consistent person. And that identity makes the next day easier and the next, until showing up is no longer a decision, it's a way of life.
Chapter 8. Systems over Goals. Why goals aren't enough. Goals are powerful for setting direction, but they are terrible for creating lasting consistency. Many people believe that once they set a goal, lose 20 pounds, write a book, make a certain amount of money, the motivation will carry them through. Yet most abandon their goals within weeks. Why? Because goals focus on the outcome, not the process. They create pressure to achieve, but they don't provide a clear roadmap for how to show up every day. That's where systems come in. The problem with goal-focused thinking. Goal-focused thinking often leads to three major problems. 1. Obsessing over the finish line. You become so focused on the end result that you ignore the daily actions required to get there. 2. All-or-nothing mentality. When progress feels slow or imperfect, you feel like you're failing, and quitting seems easier than continuing. 3. Short-term drive, long-term drop-off. Once you achieve a goal, motivation often disappears. Without a system, you quickly return to old habits. What are systems? A system is a repeatable process designed to produce consistent results. Instead of focusing on where you want to be, you focus on what you need to do daily, weekly, and monthly to get there. For example, a goal says, I want to lose 20 pounds. A system says, I will work out 5 times a week, prep healthy meals on Sunday, and track my food daily. The system drives the result. The goal just gives you direction. Why systems work? Systems work because they shift your focus from the distant future to the present moment where action actually happens. They create habits, routines, and environments that make consistency automatic. Instead of thinking, I have to lose 20 pounds, you think, I need to complete today's workout and eat according to my plan. That's actionable, measurable, and achievable today. Designing a system that works for you. 1. Identify the core habits. Ask, what small, repeatable actions will naturally lead to my goal? Fitness, exercise, nutrition, sleep. Writing, daily word count, editing schedule, reading. Business, marketing, client outreach, financial review. 2. Build a simple framework. Overly complex systems fail quickly. Start with 2 or 3 core habits and make them simple enough to do every day without debate. 3. Track progress through habits, not outcomes. Instead of measuring how far you are from the goal, measure how consistently you're following your system. The freedom of a system. At first, systems may feel restrictive, but in reality, they create freedom. When you know exactly what to do each day, you eliminate decision fatigue and mental friction. There's no guessing, no overthinking, just execution. Systems survive motivation slumps. When motivation fades, and it always does, a strong system keeps you moving. You don't need to feel inspired to follow a routine. You just need to trust the process and stick to the plan. Becoming process-oriented. To master consistency, shift your mindset from outcome-driven to process-driven. Stop asking, am I there yet? Start asking, did I follow my system today? The person who commits to the process every day will always outlast the person who only chases the goal.
Chapter 9. The Role of Discipline in Consistency. Why discipline outperforms motivation. Motivation is great when it's there, but it's unreliable. It rises and falls with your mood, environment, and circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It doesn't care how you feel. It only cares what you do. Consistency is built on discipline because discipline bridges the gap between intention and action. It's the commitment to show up even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Motivation versus discipline. Motivation is emotional drive. You want to do something. Discipline is behavioral commitment. You do something regardless of how you feel. When motivation fades, discipline carries you forward. Discipline as a muscle. Discipline isn't a fixed trait. It's something you build through training. Just like lifting weights, the more you practice discipline, the stronger it becomes. Start small. Keep promises to yourself. If you decide to do something, wake up early, read for 10 minutes, or walk after dinner, do it even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. These small wins build your self-trust and your ability to act consistently. Micro-commitments build macro-discipline. Large commitments often fail because they feel overwhelming, but small, daily acts of discipline compound into major life changes. Examples: instead of saying, "I'll run 5 miles every day," start with 10 minutes of running. Instead of saying, "I'll never eat junk food again," start with 1 healthy meal per day. Each small commitment builds discipline. Over time, your capacity for bigger commitments grows. The role of self-integrity. Discipline is tied to self-integrity, doing what you say you'll do. Every time you follow through, you strengthen your identity as someone who can be trusted by yourself. Every time you break a promise, you weaken it. Consistency thrives when your word to yourself becomes unbreakable. Environmental discipline. Discipline isn't just willpower, it's smart design. Remove temptation. Reduce friction. Create cues that encourage action. Lay out your clothes the night before. Prepare meals ahead of time. Block social media during work hours. These small changes make discipline easier to maintain because they reduce the number of decisions you have to make. The myth of endless willpower. Many believe they simply lack willpower, but willpower is like a battery. It drains throughout the day. Discipline, however, can be automated through habits and routines, so you rely less on willpower and more on structure. Discipline as freedom. Ironically, discipline leads to freedom. When you master the ability to do what needs to be done, life becomes simpler. There's less guilt, less procrastination, less self-doubt. You free yourself from the chaos of inconsistency.
Chapter 10. Tracking Progress Like a Pro. Why tracking matters. Consistency without feedback is like driving in the dark. You may be moving, but you don't know if you're heading in the right direction. Tracking progress gives you visibility. It shows you what's working, what's failing, and where adjustments are needed. The act of tracking also reinforces accountability. When you record your actions, you are less likely to skip them. You're essentially telling yourself, "I can see my progress and I can't hide from it." Metrics over motivation. Many people rely on motivation to gauge success. If they feel good about their efforts, they believe they're doing well. If not, they assume failure. This subjective approach is flawed. Instead, focus on metrics, objective measurements that quantify your consistency. Fitness. Daily steps, weight lifted, workouts completed. Writing. Words written, pages completed, chapters edited. Business. Calls made, sales closed, revenue generated. Metrics don't lie. They give you an honest view of your efforts. Daily, weekly, and monthly tracking. Consistency thrives when you track at multiple levels. 1. Daily. Log your actions, no matter how small. This creates immediate accountability and reinforces habit formation. 2. Weekly. Review patterns. Identify streaks and gaps.
Celebrate wins. Adjust for missed days. 3. Monthly. Assess progress toward bigger goals. Are the systems working? Are the habits compounding into meaningful results? By tracking at different intervals, you maintain perspective and prevent small setbacks from derailing your progress. The power of visual feedback. Visual tracking is especially effective. Seeing progress on paper, a chart, or an app reinforces your brain's reward system. The streaks, graphs, or check marks act as positive reinforcement, making you want to continue the chain. Popular methods include habit trackers or journals, spreadsheets with color-coded progress, apps that gamify consistency. The key is visibility. If you can see it, you're more likely to maintain it. Using data to adjust and improve. Tracking isn't just about accountability, it's about learning. If certain actions aren't producing results, tracking reveals that before it's too late. Ask yourself, which habits are driving progress? Which ones are stagnant? Where can I simplify or refine my routine? Data-driven adjustments prevent wasted effort and accelerate growth. Avoid the perfection trap. Some people avoid tracking because they fear imperfection. They think missing a day means failure. But tracking is not about punishment, it's about awareness. Even missed days are useful data. Treat each entry as information, not judgment. The goal is progress, not perfection. Building a habit of reflection. Tracking progress also encourages reflection. Take a few minutes each week to ask, what went well? What can I improve? What did I learn about myself this week? Reflection transforms raw data into actionable insights and reinforces a growth mindset. Accountability multiplies impact. Sharing your progress with someone else, a friend, coach, or mentor, multiplies the effect of tracking. When someone else knows your streaks and efforts, you're less likely to skip and more likely to push through difficult days. Accountability is a multiplier of consistency. It turns private habits into public commitments, making quitting less appealing. Tracking as motivation. Ironically, consistent tracking generates its own motivation. The more you see the streaks, the progress, and the improvements, the more your brain rewards you. Tracking turns consistency into a game where each completed task is a mini win. Over time, the visual proof of your dedication reinforces identity. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who improves every day.